Such a privilege to be here, and being a great fan of Telangana as a state and digital transformation. It's such a great thing and a nice thing that we have put up such an amazing conference together. So a big round of applause to Ravi, Srikanth, Vinil, Anil, everybody in Suneratech for putting this together. And I'm sure most of you would have already seen and heard this in the news. Telangana state took pride in announcing year 2020 as the year of artificial intelligence. And immediately after that announcement, this is the first of its kind event that is happening in Hyderabad, to further reinforce where the state and the nation is heading. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And few disclaimers. I'm a marketeer by heart and by profession, so it's a professional hazard that I may tend to talk about brand Suneratech and what they're doing, but trust me, they have not paid me to speak at this conference. And so I have quick 10-15 slides to walk you through or to set context before we have a very engaging panel after my talk about what the customer expectations are and where the whole thing is heading, right? So, next slide. So this is what the new age customers are today, right? They're all millennials. So let me tell you a quick example of my experience on dealing with this. While I was running my startup, Harley-Davidson was my customer, and so one of the challenges that Harley-Davidson had was, they have close to 160 odd, riders club in India, and each one are operating independently, and they have their own different rides and everything. So they said, we would want you guys to go and, study the customer expectation, come back with a requirement in terms of what would take for us to unify all these riding clubs in India and bring them on single platform. So, having worked in IT for very long and having, completely being spoiled by how the whole requirement engineering and gathering works, I had a very senior program manager, an IT director, all these guys who understand the ML AIs of the world, tag along with me, and we went to Mumbai. That's where the meet was supposed to happen. And, unlike any other typical customer, the meet was supposed to happen in a Starbucks cafe, where we were supposed to meet the heads of these, riders club and then understand their expectations and requirements and come back and, report. So when we went there, obviously when we talk about Harley-Davidson, the kind of people, the riders, the passion they have for the bike, right? And we went there thinking these guys will tell us, hey, this kind of UI, we need this kind of UX, we need so-and-so functionalities. But when we went there, it was a surprise for us because these are all young millennials. They were like, hey, dude, you know what? I want an option where when I am biking, I do this hashtag, and then, it automatically sends, my tweet out, my Facebook post, and all of that. And then somebody says, hey, I need a feature where when we are doing biking and I am wearing my gears and when we are actually videotaping it, can we kind of go live on YouTube? Can we have like uninterrupted connectivity? So after 4 hours of that, customer expectation / customer requirement meeting, what I realized is the world of IT has changed forever and for good. We are no more in a world where we will have a formal requirement document and we'll come back and say, let me, bake in a product for you. So I'm sure everybody in the room are well aware of this, but I just wanted to, get started with the presentation with that context setting. Thank you. Yeah. So we have as part of, apart from my day job, I also work at World Economic Forum for the digital and social transformation initiatives representing Asia Pac. So there is a quick video on the quick video on what customers are expecting when they say digital transformation. This is from different thought leaders in the industry and what they mean when they talk about, digital transformation, ML, AI, stuff like that.
We see digital impacting companies in 3 big ways. The first is with digital customer, where digital disrupts customer interaction and customer channels in the way that companies deal with their customers.
67% of consumers in China believe companies' primary motive for innovation is simply to drive profit. Companies have to overcome this skepticism. Consumers want reassurance that innovation is going to benefit them or society.
Previously, it took months, even years, for customer behavior and therefore their expectations to change. Nowadays, these
Changes can happen overnight.
Streaming music on Spotify and getting what we want on Netflix, we are now expecting our physical world experiences to have the same level of immediacy and variety.
Customer expectations for the first time ever cross industry boundaries. We call this liquid expectations. Uber has basically trained us to expect a seamless experience when we travel. Nowadays, people are not willing to wait anymore multiple days or even weeks to get an appointment with their doctors. If they do not get that seamless experience that they've seen in other industries, they will quite happily change their physician as well. Customers just want to get things done. They're looking for more efficient, more seamless ways to live their lives.
A growing number of physical world transactions are far more likely to occur if the transaction can in some way be initiated on a mobile device.
The big issue on every business's mind right now is digital. Every business in every industry needs to find their own pathway to get through it. And the challenge that a lot of companies have is how do they deal with that gap between the current business and the new business.
Develop a mobilization capacity. It's actually about getting stuff from the bottom up and using that energy to fuel your model.
Put the consumer at the center to empower the consumer in terms of how the data is used and valued.
It's about stepping back further and understanding what the deeper needs of your customers are and looking at innovative ways to solve those challenges as opposed to just doing the incremental things your existing customers want you to do.
So if you hear the industry thought leaders, so though everybody talks about digital transformation, though people, every other IT company in India today talks about being a digital transformation expert, it's really happening at a much deeper level. IT is no longer information technology, it's about intelligent technology, it's about, what impact does this technology have. So IT has a whole new definition. So this is a quick look into customer journey and the way we have evolved from being, the mainframes to the floppy disks to where we are today and where the whole journey is heading. So, as per the latest Gartner report, if your organization is not embarking on one of those top 5 or 6 initiatives or technology platforms that is listed here, then there is 90% probability that the organization will cease to exist 5 years from now. So, with that, there are some interesting facts. I'm sorry, how do I? Some interesting facts on how the whole customer expectation is changing and how we are talking about, not just connected customers, but connected societies, connected cities, smart cities, and all of that. And whether we are talking about, an internal transformation within an organization or a transformation for a large enterprise customer, the whole ecosystem that you see here, right from the smartphones to the connected devices to the platform that is kind of taking care of all of this, plays a very pivotal role. And if you look at, any given customer or a prospect, on an average, IDC says that there are 6 to 7 different connected devices from which an organization can do a push notification or reach out to that customer. By end of this year, we will probably have a little over 6 billion smartphones on this planet, and more than 50 to 60% of large enterprises today are transforming their business model to be able to run their business from cell phones. I'm sure Uber, Lyft, and there are a lot of such examples which is actually talking about how do we transform. So if we have been watching Twitter and if we have been following what's happening at World Economic Forum in Davos, the whole theme around now is digital economy for this year. And every single enterprise, whether it is a large FMCG or a manufacturing or an auto major, they are telling that if we don't, if we are not adopting one of these top 3, 4 technologies and platforms, then probably it will be difficult for us to, exist. Not so long ago, just probably around 4 years ago is when there was an interview that happened where a very senior executive from BMW said, auto industry probably will be the only industry that will not have the flavors of artificial intelligence and machine learning, impacting them. And they were very confident when they gave this interview because they said a lot of things in automobiles still would need, human intervention, traditional legacy ways of designing and building it. Fast forward 4 years from now, BMW is actually the flagship organization that is implementing machine learning and AI like no other automotives in the world today are doing. So that's just an example of where we need, large organization and serious players to make dent. Suneratech, I'm sure you guys have spent enough time if you just have looked at the kind of products and the services and the platforms they have to offer. You will see that irrespective of what product or what platform you look at, they have a combination of flavors of all of the above technologies that I've been talking about. Again, I mean, this is purely from the experience that I have had, interacting with Ravi, with Srikanth, and all of them. So there are very few organizations, based out of Hyderabad, based out of India, who's actually doing making a dent in this whole deep tech area. And like I said, for any enterprise, if you really want to, address large enterprises and help them solve their problems, then this is the way forward. So Uber is another example where 90% of the business happens on cell phone. Needless to say, customer books everything online. It is transacted using their cell phone, and then the whole journey is completed. The feedback mechanism, everything happens through cell phone. So 90% of the world's data, it's an interesting fact, that exists today was created in just last 12 months. So that's the amount and that's the speed and rate at which the data is being created and consumed. It's also about how we build, customer relationship, how we kind of, it's a fabulous product on how they are creating a lifelong relationship, entering into the customer's life when probably they have a child who is like 12, 18 months old, and then, stick on with them in terms of creating engaging, learning apps, engaging video games, over the next 6 to 7 years, and then how they kind of have these in-app purchases for them to buy in, additional services and products. And this has kind of, this is one product that has kind of outranked 16 different products that were like traditional video games and online gaming portals and things like that. Yeah. So, this is a quick tour into the BMW factory on how BMW is actually using artificial intelligence in their manufacturing unit and how they are transforming the way these cars are manufactured. So for those of you who couldn't read the text below, so it's a smart algorithm called the track and trace algorithm, which kind of tells you right from the one barcode that is embedded inside your car. It can tell you which part of your car has an issue and which is the nearest store where you can go find it replaced. And this is across their global network. So let's say we are driving a BMW from Hyderabad to Bangalore and there is an issue, and we walk into the workshop. All they have to do is just scan that barcode and it will tell you which part of the car needs to be replaced, what part number. So that's a small glimpse of what's happening at large, auto majors like BMW, where you have this AI and ML playing a role. So today, companies are transforming to become, customer-centric companies, which means, customers are not bothered. Harley-Davidson was never bothered about whether I use, Java or a .NET or a Angular or how do I develop their app. All they were bothered was their millennials who are having these 150 riders club across India. How do I integrate them and bring them on one platform? So we are in an era where, all that we get to hear from customers when we talk about customer expectations is, this is what I need and this is what my outcome is, and it is up to us on what kind of intelligent technology do we use to deliver the outcomes. So a small case study about how Netflix is evolving. Netflix, again, in India has been our customer. We have been working very closely with them in terms of, from a marketing and branding standpoint, though, in terms of positioning them in India. But it's a very interesting journey on how Netflix has evolved. And when we were having conversation with them, you are a media company and you are a live streaming company, so I'm not sure if you would use a lot of technology. That's when the India head of Netflix said, probably we are the only company that uses ML and AI in every single thing that we do. So whether you are using, a Netflix account for yourself, for your kid, or, your parents, every time you switch account, you will see the recommendations changing. You will see the programs that they recommend, and they say that 84% of times when they recommend, the probability is right. And this is not by coincidence. This is purely based on the machine learning algorithms they have. So this is a scale at which Netflix is operating. And next slide. So whether they are doing the recommendations or whether they are doing a push notification about a new series that is about to be launched, or they are doing an auto alert on your email saying that, hey, the last season of House of Cards will be out in next 4 hours, and click here to go log into your account, or they are sending an alert and notification saying, hey, probably your kid is watching Netflix from last 7 hours. It's not good. You may want to have the television turned off. All of that is backed by a solid, I'm not a techie guy, so I wouldn't probably understand all the algorithms. I'm sure everybody else in the room would do. So these are some of the technology platforms, algorithms that is powering Netflix today. I'm sorry, I promise this is the last video, but a video from inside the Netflix on how machine learning is transforming, the way Netflix operates today globally.
We have over 120 million members. They span the whole globe across 190 different countries, as well as a diversity of titles, content, comedies, and dramas. Machine learning is deeply intertwined with all aspects of Netflix's business. How we compose our catalog of content, how we produce our content, how we encode it, how we stream it. We use machine learning to help marketing efforts and advertising efforts, and then we also use machine learning in our content acquisition efforts.
Traditional entertainment companies, they didn't have the data that we have. So when we think about what are the gaps in our current content offering, what are titles that might be interesting to us, we're able to provide insight into new audiences that might not be traditionally served and go out and look for content that might appeal to them.
Some really exciting and novel areas are leveraging it for optimizing the production of our originals.
We find a lot of these productions are really gold mines of data. And what we find is there are various steps where important decisions can be supported by machine learning driven insights.
machine learning is used in a real product. So what's very important is to find the right objectives to optimize. For example, if you think about personalization, we want to be able to find proper metrics and labels for our algorithms so that when we optimize them, it actually enhances users' experience.
It's very exciting to know that the models that you're working on really can have an impact to such a large number of members all across the world enjoying our content and really optimizing their joy, which is a great feeling.
We are very much at the nexus of art and science, and we're working with people who are ultimately going to make these decisions, and we're supporting them with information that comes from machine learning. The combination is really powerful and super fun.
Each of our teams is generally a very diverse team in terms of the skill set that they bring to the table. Theoretical machine learning, computer vision, deep software engineers.
Everyone really just wants to work together. It's very easy to go to other places where you get to work on great research, but you don't see that research translated through interactions with other teams that are more product-facing teams and engineering teams.
It's not often that you get to see a transformation of an entire industry, and to be that agent is even rare, and Netflix has been that agent on a few occasions in its short history. So it just is a wonderful feeling being part of that.
It's usually a very new area where you're kind of looking through papers to see what's been done before. You have to be really creative. You really have to kind of think outside the box to find novel approaches to solving the problems. It's both challenging and exciting part of every day.
So, having personally worked with 50 plus Fortune 500 companies in last 5 to 6 years, whether it's I had the privilege of working with the likes of Harley Davidson, Starbucks, Nike, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, and few other brands. One thing that I kind of realized is if you want to make your IT journey successful, if you really want to make sure that you do the right, either a digital transformation or a business transformation, one thing that you need is you need a right partner. You need to find a reliable, trustworthy partner who you believe can drive the growth for you. So I'm sure a lot of these enterprises will not have all the horsepower or the expertise in-house to drive it. So you probably may want to choose a partner who has, established the center of excellence, who understands, what is continuous integration, continuous delivery, the language of DevOps, the language of ML, AI, and all of that. And that's how you choose. Oops, that was not intentional. That's how you probably choose the partner. And I'm happy that Suneratech is leading this whole thing in terms of being an Indian organization. I'm based here in Hyderabad, and so much of innovation happening. So once again, I'm concluding my talk. Thank you so much for bearing with me for so long, and I'm sure we are all in a great place and making the dent at the right moment in time. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.